Welcome to Matchday 11 of Championship predictions from the Irons Football Podcast. I'm Craig Surgeon. With me, as always, is Daniel Curry and Charlie Betts. What a dramatic Matchday 10 midweek edition. At one point, I was absolutely hopeless, and then two late goals on Wednesday turned the tide. So let's quickly have a recap of those fixtures. There were 4 correct scores overall for all three of us. Daniel Cody got one in the first game, which was Brentford versus Swansea. Myself and Charlie got Nottingham Forest versus Coventry, and I myself also got Birmingham versus Wickham, a late goal from Wickham, which somehow, I don't know how, has given me the overall win. When come 90th minute on Wednesday, I was on 1. So overall, I got 7 points, which won the week. Charlie and Cody both got 6. The table overall is, after match day 10, I still lead with 68 points with 12 perfect scores. Daniel Cody is on 63 with 7 perfect scores, and Charlie's on 57 with 8 perfect scores. So we start off with the Friday night football of Cardiff City versus Bristol City. It's the 7-side derby, a big rival between these two teams. Cody, Bristol City first win in 5, 2 late goals against Huddersfield. Do you think they can continue their good form now?
I don't know, because Cardiff bounced back as well against Barnsley. It's a game I actually watched, that one on Sky on Tuesday night. And Barnsley didn't offer a great deal, which will answer the question for me later on. But Cardiff were very good. Bristol City, a great turnaround against Huddersfield. Are they back in form? It's so hard to tell. And this already is a hard one to predict. So, I mean, I don't really know because, 2 minutes before the end on Wednesday, I thought I was going to be flying at the top of the table. So I don't really know what to say now. Whatever score I'm going for, I've just got to add a goal on for each one, haven't I? So I'm going to stick with this being a very tight game again. And I'm going to have to start the week with my favourite score, just as I did on Tuesday. I think both teams are fairly evenly matched, and I think it'll be 1-1.
Charlie?
Yeah, I think I agree with Dan. I do think they're evenly matched. However, Bristol City are slightly better away from home. I know they've been on a bit of a dodgy run, but they are better away from home. So I don't know how much do you read into Cardiff's win. I didn't watch the game, obviously you did, Dan, whether it's a case of Cardiff being very good or Barnsley being very poor. Maybe after this week, we'll have a better idea of exactly where Cardiff are. So off of that, I'm going to go on the fact that I would probably say Bristol City beat a better team than what Cardiff did in the last match day. And I think they might... I mean, it'll be a few goals, but not too many. So I'm going to go for an away win, Bristol City 2, Cardiff City 1.
Oh, this is good. This is a hard one, to be honest. A 7-side derby. Bristol City, I think they'd be delighted with that 2 late goals. I think if they went into the next international fixture after this week without a win, it would be very worrying for them. And after Dean Holden made a really good start, even in the back end of last season when he took over from Dean Johnson.
Yep.
Cardiff, great 3-0 win. I think they were very explosive. Scored the 2 goals early, and obviously, they never looked back. I do think I have to agree with the same scoreline as Cody, really, of a 1-1 draw. I think it's a really tight game. It's very hard to call in this one. Very hard to call. Let's move on to Saturday. It's Reading versus Stoke at the Bajasi Stadium. Charlie, 2 defeats in a row now for Reading. Has the bubble burst?
I don't know. I knew you were going to ask that question. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's a disaster yet. I don't want to sort of abandon the Reading ship. But you do have to look and obviously think that it was a fairly sound beating the other night. So I don't know where you go with that. I'll tell you where I am with this. If I'm honest, obviously we're unsure about Reading, the last couple of games. Stoke have not been too convincing, and particularly and I know we've been talking about almost the opposite. Away from home, they've been nowhere near as strong as they have been at home. So I'm unsure. However, I did sort of back them against Brentford on the following reason that they're quite good against teams that throw a lot at them, and they're good. Michael O'Neill, I would say, is better at setting up against those sorts of sides. However, this is away from home, so I don't know. I genuinely caught between the two. I'm not saying the bubble's burst, but I don't think it's going to go Reading's way completely. I'm going to go for Daniel Cody's favourite score, 1-1.
I have to agree in the same scoreline, to be honest. I'll go for 2-1 straight away. I know, I don't know what's going on. No, I have to totally agree with you there, Charlie, on what you mean about both teams of Stoke. Obviously, not great away from home, but pretty good at home. Reading, on the other hand, I think they just need a shut for a bit. Obviously, they lost 3-0 convincingly to Preston at home. Obviously, they conceded another 3 goals. They are leaking goals now, as you quite rightly pointed out last week. You did. You were right. You're 100% right. They start leaking goals. They're leaking goals. They conceded 6 in 2 games. It's very worrying. Yeah, I think Stoke obviously feel hard done by with what happened against Watford with the first Watford goal. We'll get onto Watford later on. Actually, anyone seen Stoke's first goal on the set piece? Bloody brilliant. I'm praising Stoke for a little bit. But I think Reading will want a sharp shot for this one. I think we'll go for 1-1 draw. Cody?
I disagree with both of you. I'm going to be bold and say I do think the bubble's burst. And to be fair, since Charlie said before Blackburn that Reading just starting to leak a little bit, 8 goals in 3 games, it has all gone wrong. So, fair play to him. He's nailed that. Stoke, on the other hand, and Craig, you mentioned it briefly there, is barring a pretty disastrous decision for the Watford goal, it would be a draw. So I think Stoke are in decent form. They won away at Luton, smash and grab. Yes, they were poor at Swansea, but aside from that, they've been decent the last 6 games. So I'm going to go for Stoke to win. And just because I feel Reading are vulnerable at back, I'll go for one more. So 2-1 to Stoke.
Next up at St Andrews is Birmingham City versus Bournemouth. Bournemouth lost their unbeaten run to Sheffield Wednesday. We'll get on to Sheffield Wednesday in a bit. There was also a red card for Bournemouth just before the goal went in because it was a penalty. But we can't read too much into that with Bournemouth, even though they haven't been convincing so far this season. Birmingham, on the other hand, they lost to Wickham in the last minute. That's really concerning me. A team like Birmingham, how Karanka sets up, I expect Karanka to be really tight. And if they're conceding sloppy goals to Wickham, the bottom table, no disrespect to Wickham, they shouldn't really be doing that. But I think Bournemouth will be more solid than Birmingham. I think Bournemouth are going to win this one 2-0. Cody?
I'm not sure about this one, to be honest, because Bournemouth have been unconvincing. And the thing that worries me about Bournemouth, given their recent history, is the fact they've only scored 4 goals in the last 6 games. Is the thing that worries me the most, albeit they've only conceded 4. And they didn't look too bad against 10 men defensively. Birmingham, that was a really weird result. They've just been so inconsistent. We thought they were getting back to form, and it's all gone wrong again. So I don't actually know what to go with this one. So I'm going to stick with Bournemouth's favourite. They've drawn a lot of games 1-1. It's my favourite score, so it's going to be 1-1.
Charlie?
Bournemouth draw a lot away from home, so I can see why you've gone with what you have done, but I just think that Birmingham seems to be on the shop. Maybe similar to Sheffield Wednesday, I don't know. But I think that Birmingham might be able to, are not as good, not as strong at home. So I think Bournemouth's favourite away scoreline was 1-0, so I'm going to go 1-0 Bournemouth.
The next fixture is probably going to pull people's hair out, especially Charlie. It's Blackburn Rovers versus Queen's Park Rangers at Ewood Park. I'm going to start with Daniel Cody in this one.
Starting with the 2 of the most inconsistent teams in the league. Although QPR have won 2 on the bounce, so do I have to read something into that? Blackburn, after shipping and scoring goals for fun, have drawn 0-0 in midweek, which I don't even know where to go from that. So I'm gonna be very unadventurous here, or am I? I just don't know. I genuinely don't know what to go for. I could pluck anything. I need Charlie's dice at the moment. Sure, I'm gonna go for 2-0 Blackburn, and I have no reasoning to back it up whatsoever.
Do you know what? I've changed this scoreline 3 times now. I did originally have 2-1 QPR, and then I changed it to 2-0 Blackburn, and now I'm going right down the middle, and this is gonna be my craziest prediction since we've ever started this. I'm going for 3-3. Charlie?
Well, you're talking about 2 teams, one who's only won 1 at home and one who's only won 1 away, so it doesn't necessarily make for a great spectacle, but I do think I'm going to have to be slightly tactical on this and go for a point. So I'm going to go for a QPR win. It's now about how many goals, because Blackburn have the ability to either, like you say, draw 0-0 or end up losing 4-3. So, but then QPR are exactly the same. I'm not going to go for a barnstorming as yours, Craig, but I think there'll be a few goals. So I'm going to do a bottle it. 2-1 QPR. I'm going to go 2-1 QPR.
Up next, it's Brentford versus Middlesbrough. Both teams picked up draws in midweek. Brentford obviously drew to Swansea, and Middlesbrough drew 0-0 at Blackburn. Middlesbrough will feel hard done by, Charlie, because Middlesbrough had 20 shots but could not score.
I don't know. See, Neil Warnock, again, a bit like, Michael O'Neill, I would say, in the sense of a manager who's very good against teams that want to play football. He's good at shutting up shop. He's good at defending against that. But you do have to question, is there an issue at the other end of the pitch for him? So it's all well and good defending as well as they are, but if you're not obviously scoring, you're not going to win a game. I know that sounds like a very obvious cliche. So I do worry about where the goals are going to come from Borough. Will Brentford score? I don't know, Ivan Toney's in scintillating form, isn't he? But if there's a manager who's maybe clever enough to stop him, it could be Neil Warnock. So there's part of me that's thinking 0-0. And that's ridiculous considering the teams that are playing. But I don't know. I think Brentford might have just a little bit too much. I think they've got, at home as well, they've got a bit of momentum now and they've got a good goal scorer in form. But I don't think it's going to be loads. So Middlesbrough don't let in loads. So I'm flat between 2-0 and 1-0. 1-0 Brentford.
Cody?
I really didn't know this. As well, I was thinking to go for 0-0 because Middlesbrough have only conceded 1 goal in the last 6, so you can't predict them to concede goals. But Brentford have got them flying in at both ends. 6 conceded and 11 scored in the last 6. So the numbers don't add up here. Which team's going to stifle the other? I really don't know. I really want to go for 0-0, but it's going to be out the water within 5 minutes. There's every chance. But let's do it. Who cares? You know what? 0-0.
Oh, I don't know about this one. I really don't. Yeah, as you just pointed out, obviously Middlesbrough, obviously defensively, they're pretty sound, but do they score enough goals? No. Brentford, on the other hand, do they score goals? Yes. Can they defend well? No. Well, not as well as I expect them to, in my opinion. But I think this is going to defy all logic. I'm going to say 2-1 Brentford. It'll be a tight game. I'll be a late penalty for Brentford. Up next is a big relegation battle at the moment. It's Derby versus Barnsley. Barnsley, reality check, Codes.
Yeah, it was a poor performance in truth. I think, to be fair, with the new manager bounce, 2 big home games, 2 games where they ran their absolute socks off for him. Maybe it was just running out of steam. Away at Millwall, they were good as well. They were unbeaten in 5 before that, don't forget. So, every team has a bad performance. We've seen it with Luton earlier in the year. There's a reason they haven't got the biggest budgets and the biggest squads in the league, and we're going to have bad days like that, and Barnsley are no different. Derby are still in woeful form. They still can't score goals. They rely on the only goals they've scored in the last 6 are free kicks. So if they're not going to score free kicks, they're not going to win games. I don't see where the points are coming from. I'm pretty surprised that Koku's still in a job, to be honest, and I think he will be gone in this international break. And I think that will be our next episode on the podcast. So let's see if I'm right on that. But I'm going to go for Barnsley to address their away form and pick up a win in this game. I wanted to go for 1-0, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go for a Barnsley win. And I think it's going to be by 1 goal, 2 goals to 1. 2 goals to 1. They won't keep a clean sheet.
I think they will.
Ooh.
I really do. I really think they'll keep a clean sheet because I think Derby are terrible. No, I can't. Yeah, as you said, I can't. I don't see any spark in Derby for a team that has. I'm not saying this is all Wayne Rooney, but with someone who like Wayne Rooney can create opportunities for players, for strikers, and not scoring at all. It's very worrying. And I'm not blaming Wayne Rooney. It's the manager. It's how he set up this team. I do agree. I think this will be the end of Koku after. If they use Barnsley, I think this will be the end of Koku. I think they're probably 23rd now. The 23rd in the table. It's not really good, to be honest. I can't see anything out of this. I'm going to go for 2-0 Barnsley win. I think they're going to be quite convincing, Barnsley, to win 2-0. Charlie?
I'm going to go down a similar vein of their last game, Derby. I think Barnsley will win 1-0. I think it'll be later on. I don't know. We'll probably address it in the issue. I'm not as convinced that all of this is Koku's fault, but we can talk about that another time. But
Agreed.
I don't see where the goals are coming from Derby. I completely agree with you. So I have to say that I think Barnsley will keep a clean sheet. Barnsley aren't very good away from home, but there is that new manager bounce, like you say. They did it against Watford, a 1-0 worldie, that sort of thing. So I'm going for a late Barnsley 1-0 win, I think.
Up next at the John Smiths is Huddersfield Town versus Luton Town. Luton very good away from home. Huddersfield obviously lost 2-1 to Bristol City. They obviously scored early, but they just couldn't hang on. Do you think Luton need to be more clinical? Because they had loads of chances in the second half, guys.
Yeah. To be fair, let's get the first thing out of the way before Rotherham fans say anything. They were lucky to go in level.
Yes,
Sluga was brilliant in goal.
Yes,
and then the second half, Luton were fantastic. But I do worry about that clinical edge. I've said it from the start. I said it particularly when Collins was out, and I do still worry about it. However, in this game, I'm not quite sure what to go for. Because as you mentioned, Luton have been better on the road. They've won the last 2 away games 1-0. They've kept clean sheets. Huddersfield, 2 of their last 3 wins have come away from home. Their only home win was against Derby, who we've just talked about the position they're in. So I can only see a similar result, to be honest, for Luton. And I know that's unusual because I don't normally back them. It could go wrong and I could have egg on my face, but I'm going to go for a Luton win. And I'm going to go for 1-0 again, even though Huddersfield have been scoring goals galore. So that's going to come back to bite me on the backside, isn't it?
Well, I hope not, because that's what I've gone for as well.
Of course you have.
Yeah, what a coincidence. Yeah, Luton seemed to be a lot stronger away from home. I think watching Luton defensively yesterday, and it was it was a makeshift back 4 because you have Craney playing left back, Glenn Ray was moved into centre half, Matty Pearson, he was right back, he was normally centre half, so it was a makeshift back 4. I thought after the first 45 minutes, I thought they were absolutely sound. Obviously, going forward, made a couple of changes, Nathan Jones, and then they looked more dangerous. As I said, they could have scored more. Monk had a couple of chances. Obviously, it hit the post from Berry and corner kind of shot off the line. Huddersfield, on the other hand, I'm not sure what the new manager wants from his team. Obviously, does he follow what Leeds are doing? Because obviously he was at Leeds under Marcel Bielsa. I don't know. I haven't really watched Huddersfield as much. But I'm a bit biased to Luton. I'm going to stick with a 1-0 Luton win because I think they're just so much stronger defensively away from home. Charlie?
It's a bit of a mixed bag, this really, because like you said, I do think Huddersfield have got goals in them. You mentioned about maybe how lucky Luton were in the first half. And a few games this season, I'm not saying they've looked ropey, that's too strong a word, but there has been a slight element of, I don't know what the word is, but, you know, they do look acceptable to sometimes letting in some goals. So, but the question is, I think Luton will win, but I don't know if they've got 2 in them. That's the thing. I'm going to have to back them away from home. I think Nathan Jones is a very good manager. Is particularly at doing this kind of setup. His setup away from home seems to be very good, and he seems to know what he's doing on that. So, boldly, I'm going to go for Luton to get 2 away from home, and I'm going to go for 2-1 Luton Town, because I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet.
Up next, it's Norwich City versus Swansea at Carrow Road. Charlie, Norwich also feel hard done by because they also had 20 shots in their game against Millwall and did not score either, like Middlesbrough. How annoyed do you think Norwich will be?
Oh, very obviously. I mean, especially if you're expecting to be one of the teams in the near the top half of the table. Sorry, near the top of the table even. They're the sort of games that maybe do win you a league. So I would be a bit concerned. However, you do have to take into account maybe the changing of that's gone on in their squad. So maybe still find their feet. Pookie was obviously on form before that. So I think I would say it's more than just I think it's just a blip. Sorry, I won't read too much into it. But Swansea away from home are obviously set up very defensively. They're unbeaten away from home, but they've drawn the majority of them. Norwich, I don't know if they're necessarily as good against a more experienced side like Swansea. So I'm going to have to go for a draw. It's what score of a draw. Do Norwich suddenly take all of those 20 chances you speak about, or do we have another fluff in front of goal? And I'm going to bank on somewhere in the middle, 1-1.
I have to agree on a draw, to be honest. I think this would be a really good... I think this is the game of the week. Despite me picking a 3-3 earlier, this is going to be the game of the week. I think
wait for this score then.
Oh, it'd be 2-2. It'd be Desmond. Obviously, Swansea... I think we don't really appreciate Swansea as much because obviously Swansea are second in the table and we've been very quiet on them. So we have to give them some credit. Norwich... Yeah, obviously, yeah, they will be disappointed not scoring. I'll be well annoyed if my team's had 20 chances and couldn't put the ball in the net. Yeah, I'm going to go for 2-2. Codes.
I'm not going for 2-2. I'm going to agree with Charlie and go for 1-1, partly because it's my favourite scoreline, partly because Norwich... A lot was made of Norwich not scoring in midweek with 20 chances, but it's the first blank they've drawn in the last 6. They've been... maybe not quite as convincing at home in terms of scoreline. They've been narrow victories. So the 1-0 against Birmingham, 2-1 with the late free kick against Wickham. Whereas Swansea on the road, they draw every game 1-1. If you go to a Swansea away game and don't predict 1-0, you're an idiot. And yes, it's going to go wrong at some point, but it's the safest bet in the Championship. And there's not many that are at the moment. So it has to be 1-1 for any Swansea game on the road.
If it's not 1-1, me and you are going to look so stupid now after that.
Up next to the City Ground, it's Nottingham Forest versus Wickham. Big game down at the bottom of the Championship. Oh, I tell you what, thank you, Lyle Taylor, for securing me 3 points in the 97th minute. And thank you, Wickham, for scoring in the 93rd minute to give me 3 points. So
costing me 3.
And costing me 3 points. So where do I see this going? Oh, I don't know. I'll tell you what, this would be a massive... Well, all right, both wins for both sides. Massive confidence boost. A big away win for Wickham. That is huge for them. Obviously, 2 wins in a row now for them. Nottingham Forest, big win. They had to get something against Coventry because I think more draws will be more frustrating for Chris Hughton and for the Forest team. I don't think they can afford more draws already. I really do think this will be a tight game. I think Wickham will show up against a Forest side. They'll probably want to attack with a bit more flair. So I think it'll be the odd goal of 1-0 to Nottingham Forest. Codes.
I'm not sure about this one because Forest, yes, they beat Coventry, but they've struggled the most under Chris Hughton so far against the sides that have set up in a similar manner. So they lost obviously against Middlesbrough by 1. The first half against Luton before the 10 men, they struggled with it. They're not really the side that are yet ready to come out and play because Chris Hughton's sorting out the defensive side first. Wickham are exactly that. It was a great late win, back-to-back victories. They've scored in 4 games in a row now after all that fuss about not scoring goals. So I can't predict them to draw a blank. I fancy them to get a point out of this. I think it's going to be a really close game. I'm going to have to go for my favourite score again. I'm sorry to be boring, but it's going to be 1-1.
Just a 4 so far on 1-1s. We've still got 3 more fixtures
There's more to come.
Charlie?
I don't know. If you look at the stats on Forest, they have a lot of the ball, and they have the ball in, you get the whole heat map sort of thing. They do have the ball in good areas, but they just don't strike me as a clinical side at the minute, which is surprising considering the players they've got. Do you know what I mean? Like even Wednesday night, sorry, I forgot what they were on. 15 shots, only 4 on target. And I know that seems like out of context, I might seem a bit strange, but if you look at how much of the ball they had in the final third, it doesn't fill you with loads of confidence that they're going to put 3-4 goals past the team, which they should be able to when you look at the attacking flair that they've got. So I agree with that it's not going to be a lot of goals. I'm going to go for a Wycombe win. I don't know what score, and I just think that there's a bit of high momentum. There's no pressure on them in this one again. Most people will probably be back in Forest, exception you, Dan, obviously. But, if you used to go on like the bookmakers. So I think I'm going to go for a Wycombe win. Is there going to be more than one goal in it? I'm going to go no. 1-0, Scott Cashkit, Wycombe 1-0.
Up next at the ACL, well, it's the New York Stadium anyway. Rotherham United versus Preston North End. Preston are bloody brilliant away from home, but utterly useless at Deepdale. Charlie, Preston actually has a really good 3-0 win against Reading.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to use the word banker because it always comes back to bite us. But this has to be if you were to have a banker, this has to be in the list of this weekend. Surely, Preston away from home has to be a win. Rotherham, will probably be hurting after that Luton game. But yeah, I mean, it's one thing to sort of go away from home and win. It's another thing to then go away from home against top of the league and win 3-0, keep a clean sheet as well, and obviously in quite a convincing fashion. So yeah, I mean, you have to give kudos to Alex Neil for that. What was surprising was the Championship team of the week didn't feature a single Preston player. It had Alex Neil as the manager, but there wasn't a single Preston player. So been reading very well. But it's now about a scoreline. Rotherham are not the worst side in the league by any stretch. So I don't think it's going to be 3-0 again, but I think Preston are so good away from home. So I'm going to go 2-0 Preston.
I have to agree on the same scoreline, Charlie, of a 2-0 Preston win. No, I've got no problems. I thought Rotherham were actually not a bad side. It's just, I feel Rotherham were what Luton were last season. Yeah, they're good in some bits, but not getting there over the line. A couple of shots from long range. They didn't really get behind Luton at all in the whole game. And I think that's a credit to Luton's defence. Yeah, I think they'll be hurting, but Rotherham, I think they'll be fine, to be honest. But I don't see anything out of this game. Preston, they are pretty strong away. Scott Sinclair's now getting into form, scoring goals. He's a very good player, very experienced. Obviously, done well with Celtic in Scotland. But yeah, 2-0 win for Preston. I'm convinced of that as well. Coach.
Similar vein, Preston, as we've said, it has to be the banker of the weekend. Obviously, none of you believed me when I said they were better Reading in the week, which they did. So well done to them. Rotherham, a bit like last season, it's a lack of clinical edge, and it's similar to what you said with Luton last year and a few other sides. They haven't got a goal scorer. There is no way they should have not scored in that 45 minutes. I know Sluga made a couple of good saves, but they created a great deal, particularly out wide areas. So it does worry me that they haven't got enough goals in them. They lost 1-0 to Stoke before as well. In fact, the only game they scored more than one recently was when they were against 10 men with Sheffield Wednesday. So that worries me at home. So I can't see them scoring in this game. I think Preston will get plenty. I really think they'll do well. And it's whether I go for 3 or 4. I think this is going to be a massive result this weekend. And it's nothing against Rotherham, but I think Preston will win this 4-0.
2-0 and a 4-0. Up next is a gained 6 points for Sheffield Wednesday against Millwall. Obviously, Sheffield Wednesday have got 6 points back. They appealed. They've won their appeal. So they are now obviously a point off Derby, the bottom of the table. They play against Millwall. Millwall drew 0-0 with Norwich, obviously, defensively sound. But I think they'll go one better. Obviously, Wednesday, they picked up a brilliant win against Bournemouth. That totally surprised us because watching Sheffield Wednesday last few games, they've been absolutely terrible. So they've finally got their first home win since February. It'll be another defeat for them. 2-1 Millwall. Coach.
I think the opposite, actually. I think this is really going to give a lift to Sheffield Wednesday. It's the last game, I think, for Millwall without the management team in the dugout. And then after the international break, they'll obviously be back. I can see Sheffield Wednesday going on a little run here. The break's probably going to come at the wrong time for them, but I think they'll nick it again. Millwall haven't scored in 2, so I'm going to go for the same score as Tuesday for Sheffield Wednesday. I'm going to go for 1-0.
Charlie?
Yeah, Millwall, they're quite good away from home, but like you say, I don't see where the goals are coming from. Wednesday, I don't know. That will definitely buoy them, that deficit of points being cut. Do you know what? I'm going to go down the middle, and I don't think it's going to be any goals. 0-0. 0-0.
And the final game at Vicarage Road is Watford versus Coventry City. Watford got a very lucky goal on Tuesday night. The ball went off the inside of the box. Well, it's a great save, though. And then the striker completely barged Angus Gunn into the net, and the referee gave it. I cannot believe he's actually given that. It's an absolute joke. They went on to win 3-2 with a last-minute goal. Coventry, they lost. Cody, starting with you.
I think Watford's, after that dramatic win, shall we call it, controversial, definitely, I think they'll nick it again. Coventry have been so close on so many occasions and just not quite there. Although the one positive I would say after my early season remarks is that they have started to score goals now. Albeit the ones against Reading, you probably won't see a million times. The goal away at Nottingham Forest, okay, they're starting to get there. But Watford, after very calm results early in the season, have just gone mad now. A 3-2 win. They had a 3-1 against Blackburn in a home game before that, after with Bournemouth in the middle with that weird 97th minute goal. So there'll be drama whatever way it happens. But I think Watford will nick it by the odd goal, and I think it'll be 2-1.
Charlie.
I'll be honest, I think Watford have proven the other night that they can score more than one goal, because there was a period where it felt like they were just nicking them. They are obviously a lot stronger at home. Coventry are really poor away. Yeah, it's going to be a Watford win. It's what score. I'm going to go, we've all had a bold prediction so far. I'm going to go for my bold one. 3, don't go 1-0. Seeing as I like Ben Foster's videos, he's going to keep the clean sheet. 3-0 Watford.
I'm going to have to agree on the same scoreline as Daniel Cody.
What a shot.
Yeah.
That's it for the season now, folks. That's it.
I'm just keeping that gap. No, I don't know why they're going to rag, because Watford are so defensively sound. They look sensible conceding goals now, which is very interesting. But yeah, I think Watford will be just a bit too strong for Coventry. I'm going to end it 2-1. And let's have a quick recap of our predictions for Matchday 11. Cody's gone for a very bold 4-0 Preston win at Rotherham. I've gone for a wild 3-3 inconsistently drawn Blackburn Rovers and QPR. And Charlie has gone for a 3-0 win for Watford, very convincingly. So those are our predictions. Do you agree with us? Let us know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are on these fixtures. Give us your predictions, we'd like to know. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and you can follow us on Twitter @HonestFootball3. And we'll see you next time.